We've got Superman, Fantastic Four, Ironheart on Disney Plus. There's so much content. Peacemaker's about to come out with season 2. So much content
Eyes of
here.
Wakanda.
Oh, Eyes of Wakanda, amazing. All of these things and maybe more we're going to talk about today here on this Comic Cooks. And I have the greatest indie hype man in the history of comics, Dalibor, who has been on the show before. Dalibor, welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Super excited to be here. Super excited to have this conversation. I love chatting with you. You know that. So I'm super psyched.
Nice. Thank you, sir. Well, I want to get right into Ironheart because last time we talked about Ironheart, and you had me as a guest on your show. We had a very good conversation, but was the show not out, or it had just come out and we hadn't watched it yet? What was the impetus behind that?
The show, I believe, was just about to drop. So
Okay.
we were just like about a week ahead. And
That
you had said some wild things about that book being better than anything in the MCU.
Well, now that the show is completely out, now that you've had a chance to go through it, what are your thoughts now in the aftermath, Dalibor? Tell us.
So I think the show is great. I really genuinely had a great time with it. I like that they took a slightly different route with it. Now, do we want to do spoilers or no? I want to make sure before I start
Yeah,
getting into
let's
it.
give everybody a spoiler warning, but yes, let's go full spoilers.
Okay. So I mean, like, first of all, having Mephisto finally feels like it's like a weird show to have it in, which all the more makes it feel more marvelly. Because like having Mephisto show up in random books is kind of his whole thing. He just shows
Yes.
up and he's like, hey, let's talk a deal. Let's talk, and it was kind of like to build all up to that. And like there was a lot of people who had some opinions about her choices throughout. And I'm like, the whole thing is I had like a really strong position about there being negative response to the show, honestly. And not because I'm like, oh, you should give it a chance or whatever. I think the show was great. And I think the show was presenting its narrative in a super clear fashion so that where you have things like The Verge that was like, oh, the show never really finds its footing. And like it doesn't have its identity. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like the only way the show could have been any more in your face about the plot and the narrative and its identity as a show about grief and dealing with it and avoiding it and then accepting like there's just like it's literally a grief cycle. The only way it could have been more in your face is if she had just said it to the camera. Like it really, that was the only way. Because I've said this before. I've said this a lot of times. I'm not like a deep diver guy. I don't like I hated book reports in high school. Like I hate like what's the theme of it? Like I don't care. Is it entertaining or is it like do I get it? Because if I'm just reading it or I'm watching it and do I understand it? And to me, I'm like it was so obvious. It was like 5% more, and I would have been like yeah, we get it. Like it was exactly like the right amount of like you cannot miss the point of this. So when people were like, oh, it like doesn't it like changes topics every episode, it like it's all over the place. Like, what are you talking about? This show is very clearly about grief, and it's almost a mirror to Stark's journey, right?
Yes.
She damn near said, I want to build an armor around the world. She damn near said it in the MIT scene. Like it's like, no, like, yeah, we're kind of doing the same thing here. Like it's not, it really wasn't that deep, if you will, because it was all there on the surface. And when we got to that, she makes the wrong choices. She makes good choices. Obviously, she makes all sorts of different choices because she's a complex person. And we get to that moment with Mephisto and he makes the offer. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Because as a writer, as a storyteller, I'm like, you could go a few ways with this. And in that moment, I was just excited to see the back half of that conversation. And I'm like, she's got to say no. I'm like, she has to say, you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, oh, okay. And then it's like, oh, now Natalie's back. And now I'm like, now we have a whole new, more interesting narrative, right? It's not the same old thing. It's not the same thing. And I actually was thinking because I remember right into and through the kind of Krakoan era of Marvel Comics, in kind of the B or C story of Iron Man, Riri had gotten the 10 rings, right? The Mandarin's rings.
Yes,
And
that's
they were
right.
sort of playing it like she was going to go dark. And then there's like a moment where she like almost loses it. She's talked off the edge, and then she just like disperses the rings. You know, she just kind of makes like the classic heroic choice, like, oh, clearly this is too much for me. I'm gonna like hide these so that no one can so no one can ever have them again until the next writer wants to use them.
Right. Yeah, man, I I'm very happy that you had that reaction and that experience because I had the exact same where I'm like, we've been people have been clamoring for the return of the MCU back to like the good old days of Endgame and that level that they had achieved, and I don't think they're back up to the top, but they're not at the bottom. Like people are like, "Oh, the MCU is dead and kill it and all this stuff," and it's like you see people's react or actually you don't see people's reactions online. I should say with Eyes of Wakanda and with Ironheart, I barely saw anybody posting about it or talking about it, and this like I think deserves more coverage. It deserves more than it got because the acting is on point, the story, everything came together, and it definitely felt like it was before, like there's the pre-COVID Marvel, and then there's like the post-COVID Marvel, and I feel like Ironheart is from a previous time, like the recent stuff we've been getting before this. Let's say post COVID. Like, man, it's crazy. I think COVID was 5 years ago, but everything that in this phase, like these phases that they're in, has not been leading to anything. I felt like Ironheart was just a great story, like you said, about grief, about her dealing with that, and her being the the reflection of Tony Stark, like the what if Tony Stark but if he was from Chicago, what if he's
Right.
from a different environment and he's not a billionaire? Like the person was not rich. So I liked it on all of those levels and where it left off, like with the Mephisto stuff, with her choice that she made. And it's like if this is the last that we get of this, then I'm gonna be disappointed. Like if they just leave it at this, then I'm gonna be like,
100%.
man, there was so much potential there. But I'm glad that like I said, I'm glad
Yeah,
that you had that.
it's absolutely. I think it sets up a lot of potential. I think it could put her as maybe an interesting counterpoint to Doom for Doomsday. Like that could be an interesting, right? If she's, Mephisto calls in the favor, like, hey,
Mm.
I need you to go handle this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes,
there's these
yes.
moments, because it's like, because they very much played it that
Mhm.
she was selling her soul, right? You won't even
Right,
miss it.
right,
You won't
right.
even miss.
Yep,
It's not even a big
yep.
deal. But I don't think it's that. I don't
Mm.
think it's as easy as that. I don't think it's as simple as that. Because that just makes him a plot device.
Right,
It's like, hey, how can we like twist things in her narrative and make it interesting? And let's just like plug Mephisto in here, and now we don't have to deal with him ever again. Because it's like we won't show her dying, maybe ever in the movies or in the shows. So like her soul being damned doesn't matter, right? Her soul
right.
being Mephisto doesn't matter. We're not going to go down that path because several markets don't like it when we talk about the devil. Like it's really,
Mhm. Yep.
that's the whole thing, right? That's why they never talked about Mephisto before. It's I think now just because it's become um a little more of a global market, ironically, it's less dependent on specific corners of the market
Mm.
that don't like talk about the devil specifically.
Yeah,
Like
that
that's
makes
because
sense.
when WandaVision came out, that was like one of the big things. It was like, yeah, like they can't talk about this because like in China, that's like really not something we want to talk about. We don't want to talk about the devil. Like
Which
it's
is
like traditional good and evil, but not like divine evil.
right. Which is kind of crazy in 2025. I almost feel like you and I had kind of a similar conversation when X-Men, like your very first appearance on my podcast, we talked about okay, you would think in our modern day age, the stuff that we learned growing up, hey, here's why not to be a racist. Here's why you should be a good person. Like we're still learning these lessons. How many 20 years later, 30 years later, and the same thing about demonic stuff, it's like, I don't know. That's it. If you're, I don't feel like they should have to specifically like cater to a certain audience. Like, just put it out, put the story out. If you want to watch it,
Sure.
watch it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. And just let the story, tell, stand on its own 2 feet. So that's kind of weird in 2025 to still have to think
A
about,
hundred
man,
percent.
we have to
But you
avoid
know
these
what's funny,
people.
because there is and I have a feeling like a certain group of people is going to take this personally immediately, but that's not who I'm talking about. That's a side effect of this statement. There are so many stupid people in today's society, but it's not even about that. Let me tell you a story, a real news story I read today about the city of Chicago. There were people. There are apparently, this is an ongoing thing, but this is the first I'm hearing of it, and this is ridiculous to me. So you know the bean, it's called the Cloud Gate, but we all call
Yes.
it the bean in
Right.
Chicago,
That
right? Big
silver.
reflective bean thing.
Mhm.
It's called the Cloud Gate, which I get it, but it's the bean. There is apparently a group of people who believes that there is a man trapped inside of the bean.
Say that again.
I don't know where they got this notion. I don't know when this started. All I know is the news article was like, because we had a massive storm here a few days ago, like throughout the rain, people still protest the release of the man in the bean. I'm like, the what?
I
The
never heard of this.
actual what?
Oh man.
And it's like some people seem to think that it's like kind of funny. Other people think like, well, like, we don't know that there's no one in there. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no one in there. Like, you don't know that there's no one in there. Like, it's ridiculous. So
That's
like there is
insane.
such like wanton idiocy in the world that I think there are just certain things that you gotta explain that by now should be kind of like duh,
Right.
but it
Yeah.
just, some people don't get it. Some people don't get it. They get talked into certain things. I've got family members that, after a decision they made in November, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm just not going to vote anymore. Like, I regret what I did. And I'm like, I mean, that's cute, but like, you had the same Google and same internet that I had. Like, we had the same information. This isn't a matter of like, I made a bad choice. This is a matter of you stupid. Like that just is what it is.
It's funny. I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and they brought up there's a George Carlin quote, and it's funny. I hadn't heard it. I like George Carlin, but I don't have his albums on repeat in the background. He
Sure.
said, "Think of how stupid the average person is, and realize half of them are stupider than that." And I was like, "This is like
Yeah.
exact." And that's what he must have said that in the 70s, 80s, and we're talking about 2025. That still hits today
It's always
100%.
true. It's always
Yes.
true because people are much more willing to buy into BS of any sort. It doesn't matter what kind of BS it is,
Mm,
whether it's a man in an art piece
right.
or, like
Whew.
anti-society government. People are willing to buy into BS as long as essentially it takes responsibility off of them. It's like, I don't want to deal with my stuff. I don't want to deal with my taxes or with my
Ah.
parents or with, I've got, all this stuff that like we all have to deal with.
Yes.
But like people just like, oh, I'm going to just like dive into this and this will be my identity. I mean, it's all factors of life. Like there are people who become gym bros. Like I go to the gym and I'm in there. I'll do one region or one targeted area per visit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in, I'm in there 30, 45 minutes and I'm out. There are dudes who were in there before I got there, who have only done 2 sets since I've been there, and they're staying there. Yes. They're there for hours. Right. And they're not like doing crazy stuff. They're just chit-chatting. They're on their phones. Like the gym is their personality. The gym is their escape from whatever the thing they don't want to deal with is. And it's true for me. People who video game all day, people who get lost in books, it's true for all of us in some fashion. Like,
yeah.
We had to delay our taxes. Like I'm dealing with my taxes right now for this year. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah. And it's like, that's part of being human. That's part of life. The thing I don't get is like, I thought we were progressing upward as far as intelligence, scientific fact, and things I thought were building upon themselves. And I must have been in a vacuum because it's like I didn't see these other things that were
It's not
happening.
it's not that. Gotta tell you exactly what it is. It's this
Tell
right
me.
here. It's this right here. It's the internet. The internet's the
Mm.
greatest thing that happened to mankind, but it's also the worst thing to happen to mankind. Because while the internet does allow for everyone to have their opinion heard, it also makes everyone think that it should be heard. And that's the problem. Like,
Yeah.
some
Yes.
people should not be speaking.
Mm-hmm. A
And
hundred
like, you
percent.
had people who, I mean, even before like broad social media, what's her, I always forget her daggone name, but like the anti-vax lady who for years was just like, that was her
Oh,
whole thing.
yeah.
uh
Dang.
but she was like a
Yeah.
model or whatever.
I know what you're talking about.
And
Now I'm
but for
blanking.
years, like for
Yeah.
years, like 20, 25 years, that's all she talked about. And now she's like, oh, actually, like, I don't actually believe that anymore. Like, like
Was
I've
it
educated myself.
Oh, Jenny McCarthy. Yes.
Jenny McCarthy, yeah, yeah. And
Yes.
now she's
Yes.
like full 180, but it doesn't matter because she's built a cult. The cult exists
Mm.
now, completely, like, irrespective of her beliefs anymore.
Dang. I didn't
The
even know
cult now
this.
believes
Yeah.
what the cult believes.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
And
like,
that's
even if she spent another 50 years trying to like to walk it back,
right.
you can never walk it back.
Yeah.
That's why cults always end in disaster, right? All like our historic cults, they all end in like a mass casualty event of some sort. Like, that's the only way it stops, is if you talk them all into ending it.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Man, there's so much, like you said, the the tool of the internet. It's just how you use it. It's not the technology, it's how do you use it. And having our voices out there, being able to communicate with each other and not necessarily having to have all the hurdles of getting your voice out there. But like you said, some people, their voices should not be out there. um, I gotta figure out how to. We do have Wonder Rob in the chat, and he says Colts will follow a pair of big, juicy personalities. I got to figure out how to put the chat up there because we're not doing this through StreamYard like I have done in the past, and so I can't put the chats up there. But Wonder Rob, great point. A big pair of personalities, especially with Jenny McCarthy. But I think you're 100% right, Dalibor. The internet itself has empowered people, and that's we see it. You and I see it on YouTube, on TikTok. The people that feel like they can just say anything because it's anonymous. They can just speak out the side of their mouth. Like what people are willing to say online is kind of crazy. Whereas when you're in person with somebody and you're face to face with them, those people are not going to be as bold as they are in a lot of our comments. But it's funny. I love the way that you call people out on your TikTok, and you'll respond to people's comments with a video, and I'll see that video and I'm like, oh wait, he's been in a conversation with this person, and they've been going back and forth. So I always have a good time when I see you responding to somebody. I already know it's gonna be good. I don't even have to see what the topic is. I said he's gonna be saying something funny and he's gonna be saying something correct. So if you
It's
want to follow
just
that, follow his TikTok.
often it just people that either make really ridiculous claims. My favorite of this year so far has to be the Jim Lee is a top 5 X-Men writer. What a bananas statement.
What?
Like, I was like, I had not even posted in like weeks, maybe even a couple months, and somebody said, yeah, Jim Lee like is a top 5 X-Men writer. I'm like,
That'd be
no.
like if there's
Like,
six
that
total writers.
listen, yeah, if there's 6 total writers, sure, yeah. If you eliminate everyone past number 6, absolutely. But like, and also if you eliminate the first 20, like,
Yes, that's
because it was just like we could, because
crazy.
we could all debate about the best X-Men stories and the best X-Men eras, uh but no one at any point is like, oh yeah, those like 7 issues when Jim Lee wrote X-Men are my favorite.
Right.
No one anywhere. You
Whoo,
could say he's
that's
one of your favorite artists. You can even say he's your favorite artist, or you might even have the opinion that he's the best X-Men artist. I think that's pretty reasonable. Like, everyone's opinions about what art looks like and what art is quality or not or whatever, and its top, that's all varied. to even suggest that he is like, listen to me. I love Jim Lee's products. I am a Wildcats fan. I am a Stormwatch fanatic. X-Men, everything he's done, I've never had a problem with it. He is not a good writer. He just isn't. Like, no one talks about the first however many issues of Stormwatch. I do, because I love it.
I bet you he himself will tell you that he's not the best writer.
Look, there's a reason that Brandon Choi is credited on every single Image book that he started. Like, Wildstorm was Jim Lee and Brandon Choi. Brandon Choi was putting the words and making it the best he could. Because, like, Jim Lee admits fully that most of Wildcats was created when he was in like 7th grade.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that makes sense.
It's not like a deep narrative. It's just like, hey, I came up with a bunch of cool ideas. One of my favorite pieces of interview of him ever is him saying, like, everyone always asks me, why does Maul have horns on his back? He's like, I was in 7th grade and I thought it was cool. It's like, you don't need a better reason. You really don't.
I feel like that was the majority of the Image era, like the 90s, the early 90s, the Marvel, just the comic book industry in general. It was like, I mean, Todd McFarlane said he created Spawn when he was in high school and just had it in the back of his mind. I feel like a lot of those guys were just like, hey, I made these guys when I was in high school. This is going to be cool today, right? This is going to be great. Now that I'm an adult, I can put these same ideas out there. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed, like I said, the experience of Ironheart and Eyes of Wakanda. Did you get a chance to watch all of Eyes of Wakanda?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay. Yes, that's another one.
I shotgunned it basically in like a night and a half.
Yeah, it's so digestible because it's like it's 2 hours. You get the whole thing. It's like watching a movie, and I don't hear anyone talking about it. It's like I don't hear anything about it.
It drops super quiet too. I mean, at least before Ironheart, there was a bit of a fan outcry of like, hey, like, why aren't we seeing promos for this or whatever? But for Eyes of Wakanda, like, I literally only saw like a couple posts. I think there is also a smaller audience for animated in general. Especially like this, I would consider this more adult animation. The narratives are, I mean, it's not like it's not for kids. Like, kids can definitely watch this,
right?
But this is definitely like more adult. The narrative itself is more like geared towards adults,
right? Oh man, I'm kind of hesitant about the future of Marvel because it feels like they just can't get back on that pedestal, because I guess they had raised the bar so much. The first 15 years of the MCU, they were doing stuff that other companies weren't. We hadn't seen I was gonna say multiverse, but like multiple properties all in one universe fitting together.
Yeah,
we had never seen that before, and now everything.
Honestly, the first time before that was Fantastic Four, the like 2005 and 2007 films. I think that was the only other time, besides like the Dark Knight movies. But again, those are all the same franchise,
right?
Like, there had never been an on-screen multi-film thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
No, untrue. Most people don't know this, but I'm going to drop it right here. Coming to America, and thus by association its sequel, are in the same universe canonically as Trading Places, because the brothers from Trading Places, when they go broke, I forget their names, but the two rich white dudes, when they go broke, they show up as poor people in Coming to America. He like throws them some money, and he's like, "We're back!"
Oh man, dang! I completely missed that. That was one of those ones that, like, I watched it on VHS growing up over and over and over again, but I wasn't paying attention at all. That is a great like Easter egg, especially.
That's a movie. That's a movie that everyone needs to be watching, especially now. Apparently, there's this, let's say, renewed interest in Jamie Lee Curtis over a couple things that people have been apparently just noticed for the first time ever. And I'm like, were y'all not around Trading Places? Like,
oh man, even
people keep going to True Lies.
I was gonna say True Lies. Yeah,
and that's of course great, but I was like, you guys are still missing out.
Classic. Yes. Yeah, that I saw the reactions on TikTok and I every single one of them I was laughing at. Um but actually, you know what? Dalibor, you are a very creative person. You every time I see you, you have a new idea. What do you think Marvel needs to do to get to get
God, I couldn't have fed you a better question. I was waiting for an opening. I was waiting for an opening. I couldn't have fed you a better question.
Oh
Let me tell you
man.
exactly what the problem in Marvel right now is. The
Yes.
Marvel
Yes.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how it's already being solved and how it's already being done better over at DC. James
Mm,
Gunn, obviously, the new DCU is it's nascent. It's still growing. It's still budding, but it's already been done better in that universe than Marvel has done in most of its projects. And that is the feeling as you watch something, the feeling of an actual cohesive universe.
mm.
When you watch Superman and you see that scene on when he sees Peacemaker on TV, and even the background of that is like, oh, the Justice Gang is doing a thing. It's like, no, they got that. So it's like very much like, hey, the universe is still happening while we're doing this story, and it's very much obvious and in your face. And having Rick Flag Sr. in from Creature Commandos,
Yes.
and then also having a Justice Gang. I saw the trailer for
Mhm.
Peacemaker season 2. Justice Gang and Max Lord are going to be in Peacemaker season 2. So
Yes.
like having all of these things show up, like what I would kill for is if they bring, because I think this is one of the few things we were missing in Superman is more Clark. I would love for
Yes.
Clark to show up in Peacemaker or just like any of the other projects, just sort of doing his Clark job, just like a reporter on a story asking questions. And it could be like very much but just to show that these characters are continuing and existing and developing, because that's one of the things. And I had a guest on my show and we had a pretty spirited discussion regarding the quality of Superman. um I think it was a great movie. He thinks it is a quote dog shit movie. And I think that's a ridiculous statement. Now, 100%, could we sit here and like analyze it and say what it could like? And I do agree. I think while it did have some character development for some characters, there just wasn't a ton of character development. But I think inherently that's one of the problems with writing Superman. Superman himself doesn't really get to develop as a character. He sort of has to be the guy. And that's like he doesn't really get to not be the guy. Like that's it. He has to be that guy. And if suddenly Superman, like traditional classic good guy Superman, were to be a little duplicitous for a moment, or for any, like just anything out of character, I think that would betray our expectations and we would end up like not like it just wouldn't be the same feeling then. And I think that's kind of a lot of what we got in the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're missing in the MCU is the connective tissue. Where you get little
Mhm.
bits and pieces, you get some post credit scenes. Post credit scenes are almost always meant to set up the next thing, as opposed to just say, "Hey, this universe is still happening."
Right.
I think what we need more of is just like in passing moments. Like I would have said during Thunderbolts, since the ending happens in New York, there should have been a Spider-Man flyby.
Mhm.
We don't need him on set. I just
Yes.
need to see him in the back snatching up somebody before the shadow gets him. Just to say, hey, all of this is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And this I forget who I was talking to, but it's like I haven't seen Daredevil yet. I haven't seen the new season of
Okay.
Daredevil,
Mhm.
but I will find it a fundamental failure of direction from the top and writing if there isn't at least a mention of the hottie lawyer from the West Coast, or after what happened in San Francisco or whatever. Like after, like something to just say, hey, that happened. We all agree it happened. And now we're here and like we have the after effects. It's
Right.
like if when he gets the new suit, if he says something like, yeah, I heard yellow wasn't my color. And you know
Yes.
what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
just like
Yes.
something to just say,
Mhm.
hey, we're all in this together. This all
Yes.
happened. Because if you don't do that, then it's not this. It's not a shared universe. You're just shoving puzzle pieces together that kind of look similar, and they're gonna make a picture, but it's not gonna be as good as one where you thought about what piece was gonna go where.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, like if you, like a Peter Parker taking photos in the background of something, just really any of these little things. It doesn't have to be major. It does. I mean, one of my favorite moments in an X-Men comic of like connective tissue is there's a Christmas issue where Frank Castle is just walking down the street. Like I think Gambit and Trish Tilby or somebody like walk by, and he's just like this, and you just kind of see like the inside because he's got a trench coat on. You just see the inside of the skull. It's cold. It's like January. He's walking, he walks by, and that's it. Nothing happens. There's no fight. There's no anything. But I'm like, oh yeah, that's Frank Castle. That's cool. I like that. And it's like that's the thing that is missing in Marvel is that connective tissue. Just like from what I understand, I don't recall this, but apparently Sam Jackson said that you need to watch Secret Invasion to understand the Marvels. And can I tell you, I am a Marvel apologist, if anything. I tried real hard to like justify those two stories. Man, it was difficult. Man, it was difficult to justify those. Like, but again, even his personality in the Marvels doesn't reflect how he was at the end of that show.
Right. Yep.
And like that show should have started at the end of that show.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like
now we're looking for scrolls everywhere under every rock and behind every like that's how it should have started. But that is I would say the worst project in the MCU. I think I would put that at a 5. Like to me, that is like, yes, this is a Marvel project, and it has like some entertainment value, and that's about the lowest I want to see anything go. I don't want to see anything. That was a rough one. I'll be honest. Like I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of the MCU, but like that has to be the bottom for me. Like I'm not a XYZ was dog shit. Like I don't think it was a terrible show. I just don't think it had the cohesiveness that it needed to be a good show. I think it could have been a great show.
Right.
Like I think they gave up a lot of the narrative bombs like really early. Like Maria Hill.
Yeah.
Like a day one, you're gonna off a day one in the first episode, and then it doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
Nah.
I thought that was going to be, there's going to be some payoff to that, or there's going to be some reason. Nope, never mentioned again. Nothing. But I think you're bringing up a great point of what we originally, I think, besides the fact that we enjoyed the stories from the first part of the MCU, it was the shared universe. That was the promise that we were given. And we were like, oh, okay, we have to see this movie to set up the next movie, And it became a thing of like when each new movie came out, I remember my friends being like, okay, we got to watch, the previous whatever in order to watch this one. And after Endgame, I think when Disney Plus came out and there was just so much content, now it's funny because it feels like Marvel is trying to backpedal and say, well, with Fantastic Four, you don't need to see everything. This one is you can see it on its own. You don't need to do any homework. You can just have a good time. And that was true. But then at 100%. The end of I don't know if you felt this way as I did. As I was leaving the theater, I was like, man, I kind of wish that was more connected. I wish there was more of that connective tissue in the background of this. These guys are, especially after the scene we got in Thunderbolts, where it was like we saw their ship coming to Earth.
That could have been the post credits in Fantastic Four.
Yep. 100%.
And I would argue that should have been the post credits in Fantastic Four. Because then you could say, oh, Thunderbolt. Because then if you had that scene, if you just literally put that same scene at the end of Fantastic Four, then as a viewer, you're like, oh, so since the end of Thunderbolts, they became the new Avengers. They got new suits, all this stuff, and it's like, wait, but the Fantastic Four end up in that universe? How? And then you're like, you have questions, right? And immediately you get engaged with the thing, right? And I think that's what the first three arcs gave us, right? And it was
Yes.
the build of the Avengers, right? You have Tony Stark show up, you have Fury show up, you have Coulson show up. Coulson was a great through line for that first
Yes.
arc.
Mm-hmm.
Having a character that takes you through the whole narrative in
Yes.
some fashion. Look, there's a reason that every time an era of X-Men started, that they got a new teenage sidekick, because they wanted kids to have a point of view character,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Kitty Pryde, Jubilee, and then literally everyone in the 90s. Like, except it was like more like, it was like you got one teenager, you got one rebel teenager, you got one adult who didn't want to be here. Like, it was kind of a mixed match. It was my favorite era. But like, it's you have to have some sort of through line. Otherwise, like you said, it doesn't feel connected enough. Like, I would say there have been some like exceptional moments of, hey, this is a connected universe. Ironically enough, Eternals, even though it's this like
Mm.
very much isolated thing, it it directly discusses what happened in another movie, in an entire storyline, really, and then like how they might deal with the ramifications thereof, and then it creates a problem that then has to be dealt with and resolved, not even necessarily resolved, but just like addressed later on.
Right.
And it was a little like, it was in She-Hulk, we got some of those like little sprinkles, right? We go, oh, there's this thing in the Indian Ocean, we don't really know what to do with it. And it's like, okay, cool. So now we have this, like, oh, this is happening. And it's like, they also brought up Wolverine in that show.
Yes.
Not really
Mm-hmm.
sure where they were going with
Right.
that. Like, I'm 100% unsure where they're going with that.
Right.
Because I mean, I told you my theory of like how they should deal with the X-Men, and that to me would make sense. Of like, hey, now it's post snap and post everything, like we can come out of hiding, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's why somebody noticed the fact that this man has claws.
Yes.
And now it's like, oh, also like when Kamala Khan is like, oh, you have a mutation. It's like, no one's had a mutation like this before. No one.
Right. Right.
That seems unlikely.
Yeah. In the history
So it's
of
like,
the species.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and we have all of this stuff happening. We Hulks, we have all
Yeah.
this stuff. Gods, no one's had a mutation before. Like, that
Right.
seems unlikely.
Right.
But so it's like,
Very.
to me, that's how it would make sense. But also, they very much like announced the cast of Doomsday, and it's like a bunch of people from the old movies, and not
Right.
even like the last round of movies, but like the old movies. Like, so it's like, and I honestly hope at this point we're just dealing with an entirely different universe altogether. Like, it has nothing to do with the other X-Men movies.
Mm.
Because at this point we've had 3 Xaviers, from 4 if you really want to count the like weird goopy Xavier from Wolverine Origins.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
Dang.
because
Yeah.
like he was like walking, but then he was also very much like CG to be younger. But like, at
Right.
that point in the timeline, he shouldn't have had like no hair yet,
Right.
based on
Right.
the first class movie. So like,
Mhm.
just like, there's just like, so like we've had multiple Xaviers,
Mm.
and then obviously the Multiverse of Madness, which was another movie that I think like touched on, hey, we just had this multiverse thing with the Spider-Man, and that, I think, to me, that's perfect. That's enough. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, and it doesn't have to be anything that takes time on screen. Like, honestly,
Right.
it just, hey, this universe continues.
Yes.
If like, I just started watching, behind on a lot of the Disney Plus stuff, but I just started watching season 3 of What If, and one of the episodes is what if Agatha went to Hollywood.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
it like, in the rest of that universe, if that was the universe we were watching, I would expect references to like the golden era of film and the star Agatha Harkness,
Right.
just to be like, all of this happened here.
Right. And that's what
And
I
that's,
thought.
I think, what's missing.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get that. Like, when What If was first announced, I thought there was going to be more. I mean, Disney Plus in general, I thought it was like, okay, the thing that, like you said at the beginning, the thing that DC is doing right now with Creature Commandos, going like tying into the DC universe, animation, live action. James Gunn even mentioned video games. That was what I thought
Interested
we
to
were
see how
going to
that
get.
goes.
Yeah, I I want to be optimistic about it, but I don't know exactly if that's going to be cohesive and fit. But with MCU, that's what I thought we were going to get out of the Disney Plus stuff. We did you watch Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
No, but that changed like premise like 3 times before it launched.
Yeah. And
The original premise was that this was a prequel show,
right. And I was
and
like
it very
I
much
was
was not.
yeah, I was all in on that. And it's like, man, there's so many things that gave us that promise of the shared universe, and now it's like these everything is a different earth or a different multiverse. It's like nothing is connected for a lot of these things, and it just kind of deflated me on a bunch of that stuff. And I feel like the general population, because these used to be event movies, these used to be events for the new, like all the new Marvel movies coming out. Now, when I talk to people at work, when I talk to my friends, it's like I'm the only one who's interested. I'm the only one who's still going to the stuff. And so
Yeah.
I I just really, yeah, I'm hoping we can get back to that point. I think James Gunn is a bright spot in this like it gives me hope that he's going to be able to do something with this DC universe. Whatever Lanterns ends up being, like I'm really excited about that. Peacemaker about to come out tomorrow. Dang. Um all of these things that are on the horizon, and the thing that James Gunn said that really gave me hope was that they weren't going to put anything into production until the script was done. Like until it was they approved it and they said, "Hey, we're we're locked in. This is a good story. Now we can start the rest of the stuff." And it's like, wait, Marvel wasn't doing that already? Like what why do we have to come out and say that? It's
Yeah. The
crazy.
the like lack of showrunners was great. What a
Yeah.
thing to find out. Oh, we didn't have a showrunner. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
What exactly? Who was running the show? Someone has to be in charge, and it can't
Right.
just be the director.
Right.
Like it just didn't make any sense. And like
Yes.
then it suddenly sort of explained some of the weird like third act failures. Like I would, as
Mm,
much as I liked She-Hulk, and no matter what anyone says, I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good show.
same.
That third act is a problem narrative,
Yes,
like
very
narrative,
strange.
even when
Mhm.
you go into the fourth wallness of it and everything,
Yeah,
to
which I like
just say
that.
like, oh, we're gonna last minute edit
Right,
the actual plot of the show you've been watching. Like,
right.
no, that is lazy. That's
You're
all that
using it
is.
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
Like
it's
yeah.
meant for gags, not to fix your writing problem.
Yeah. Yes,
Like
yes.
it's meant for jokes. Like, one of the greatest and it was not always, but like a lot of the times in the comics during the Byrne era, it was a last page gag. It was the last page or like an early story gag to sort of
Yeah.
like remind people that like she could still do this. And like that's the only time that it should be used. And there was a couple great moments of that, but to just be like, "Oh, I'm going to like exit the show and go into Disney
The
Plus."
Disney Plus
Like
menu,
it's just
yeah.
like the whole and I was like, this would have been a cool what if. Like that
Yeah.
moment would have been like,
Mhm.
what if
Right,
like what if Jennifer Walters broke through the fourth wall entirely and left the show?
right.
Like that would have been, I would have watched the shit out of that episode, and that would have been a great episode as an
Yes.
alternate ending, if you will, to
Mhm.
a show that actually had a finished narrative.
Yes.
Because like it could have very much been like the little asides to talking to Matt about like, oh, you missed the fight, like, oh, we fixed it. Like that's the fourth wall. Like
Mhm.
you missed the fight scene. Just like Deadpool shit. Like
Yeah. Right.
when he talks about like
Mhm.
superhero landing, like that's for the viewer. That's not for anyone
Yes.
else.
Right,
Like most of the people sort of ignore him or don't pay attention to what he's saying.
right.
So to me, it just there was narrative problems in some of those shows, but like I still enjoyed them. That's the thing for me is I and that's like where my Superman conversation and back in the day, even with She-Hulk and Eternals, my conversation with Anthony Stokes, who's now on TikTok. Welcome to TikTok, Ant Stokes. But he both of them seem to analyze this stuff as they're viewing it, and to me, that doesn't really serve a purpose.
Mm.
I'm first and foremost in front of a film or in front of a show to be entertained. And
Yes.
if I'm entertained, and I always go back to my example of the first Daredevil movie. I
Mm.
had a blast. I geeked. I think I went there. I took a date there. I was
Mm.
like geeking because like one they did the Kirby mention, like the mortician or whatever was like his last name was Kirby. I'm like, that's awesome. Like I'm coming out geeked. Literally the next day I wake up, I'm like, man, that wasn't a good movie. Like then I got to you're like, I still enjoyed it. And I've watched like the director's cut and I
Yes.
watched,
I
it's not like
really
I
like the
didn't go see
director's cut.
Elektra,
Mhm.
but like
Oh.
I still
Ooh.
watched all these things. And the fun fact, there's a deleted scene in Elektra that actually makes it feel like it's part of the same universe, whereas
Ooh.
the original film just doesn't. The original film just
Yeah.
essentially pretends like that Daredevil never happened.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
deleted scene in that, I was like, this is a great scene. Why the hell they cut this out? Like, this is a
Yeah.
great moment.
Yeah.
But
I
like, I I can watch a movie and I can enjoy it and or a show or whatever, and then turn around and be like, all right, now we can look at it like critically. We can talk about things and analyze it. Like, I love the Transformers franchise. Love it. Like, it's super enjoyable, absolutely fun. They're not good movies. Like, if I want to sit here and analyze narrative and story structure and acting, my God, the acting, some of the subject matters, the whole like the was in the fourth or fifth one where Marky Mark's daughter is dating a dude who's over 17 or whatever, and he's like,
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet,
Yes,
whips out the
yes,
card. I was like, what the
yes.
fuck is this? Like, this is weird. This is a weird plot point.
I
And it was
forgot
like a
about that.
2-minute moment. It's like a 2-minute moment. Like, minutes count in a movie.
Yes.
Like 2 minutes on this. I don't know how I feel about this. But like in the moment, I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. This dude's like, I'm sleeping with your daughter. Like,
Yeah.
but like, it's just like when you can sit back and analyze it, like they're not good movies, but they're enjoyable for me. And like for some people, they're not, which is fine, whatever. But for me, even when I have information going into a movie, like with Madam Web, I saw somebody took a screen cap from the theater that like during the scene where I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a scene early on where she's like tending to someone on the ground. There is like a boom mic, like just like into the scene from the top. And I'm like, damn, because like, I saw the screen cap and I'm like, that's pretty bad, right?
I missed that. Yeah.
As I'm watching it, that moment was executed well. Narratively, I was there with her emotionally.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Like 3/4 of the way through the movie, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that thing. I didn't even notice. Like, don't get me wrong. That movie had tremendous technical problems. Tremendous. Yes. But like, I actually enjoyed the story. Like, I actually, if they had said, hey, we're going to do like a Spider-Women movie, I would have been down. I would have gone to see it.
Yeah. Like, I think that was something that a lot of people, like when they saw that, I mean, the future tease, it was like, whoa, this is whatever that is. I want to see that. I want to see that.
This is what I came for.
Yeah.
This is what I came for. So this is what I said. I think there's another, like narrative failure, right? Like Madam Web, as much as we're all nerds and even like the hardcorest super or Spider-Man fan is never going to say like Madam Web is my favorite character. And I needed like a frontline story with her being as the center. Madam Web being a B character. Let's say if this was a movie, you call it Spider Girl or even 100%. Spider Girls or Spider Women or whatever you want to call it. And she's bringing the team together. Yeah. She's like Nick Fury. That's a different movie. But you could pretty much shot for shot make the same movie.
Yes.
And but you just focus it on one of them. They're the point of view character.
Yes.
It's like a better movie just by changing the angle of the camera, essentially, like saying, this is who we're following, not this person.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of stuff where that fails us, like as fans. Like, we want this stuff to be great. We want this stuff to be amazing. But like, even when they do a really good job converting something, sometimes there's only like the well is only so deep if you segregate it from the thing that makes it cool. Like Venom, excellent first movie, good second movie. Haven't seen the third one. That's like my enthusiasm for it waned. Like the only thing I liked about 2, honestly, was Carnage. Like they let a bad guy be a bad guy. Like Carnage was a was a lunatic.
Right.
Like he was a true maniac,
Right.
no redeeming qualities. And I'm like, this is what we've been missing in villains in
Mm.
movies, because like
Yeah.
everyone has a backstory and everyone's got a tragic, relatable something or other. They have to
Right.
be redeemable. I'm like, no, they
Right.
don't. Sometimes bad guys can be just bastards.
Yes.
And like that's why they made him be that. But then at the end of that one, honestly, I was like, nah. Like the third one, I was like, trailer looks cool. Like, and I'll watch it one day, but it very much wasn't like I gotta see it. And
Yeah.
it's like the well runs dry when you don't have, because Venom is the foil for Spider-Man. You need
Yes.
the comedian if you're going to play a straight man, and
Mhm.
vice versa. Like if you're just going
Right.
to play a straight man, there's only so many dramatic films you can get without a little bit of comedy. Somebody to
Right.
bounce off of.
Yeah. I don't know what the thinking behind the whole Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. Like the Sony,
Yeah,
what was the, like, what were they thinking was going to happen? We want Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man's the most popular character. Why would you not put Spider-Man in the plans of, you know what I think it is, now that I'm thinking about it. I think they got in their heads, oh, we have to do it like Marvel, where we have the individual stories and then we build them together, and then everybody's gonna love it like Endgame. They're just gonna love it. Like we're gonna put all these stuff together. And I was like, no, like you said, with the Madam Web thing, it was like the B level characters, or the characters that, oh, okay, Morbius, I like to see him every now and then. He pops up, but I'm not, the Morbius story is not the one that I want to see.
imagine
And
how much better Morbius would have been if it was Spider-Man, like bloodsuckers in New York City or
yeah,
whatever whatever
right,
the
right.
subtitle is, and it's like Spider-Man dealing with like a rash of disappearances and this, that, and the other thing, and then like as a B story, we get the origin of Morbius,
Yes.
and then the
Mhm.
final fight is I'm trying to stop you, and then it's this is the bad guy, is the
Yeah.
then they join forces at the end, and it's like this guy's kind of like an anti-hero, maybe he's not a bad guy. Like there's just like I always say like it's a terrible movie. It's almost not enjoyable. But for me, and this does not have to be true for everyone, but for me, the bat Kamehameha at the end, it apologizes the whole movie. It redeems the whole thing. When I
Dang.
saw, I'm like, is he about to? And I like does the thing, and I was like, oh my god, bat Kamehameha, this is the best thing. I'm like, this is worth the fucking 2 hours I just spent on this garbage
That
just
is
for
funny.
this moment. Like, what a ridiculous thing. But like all of those movies would have been better as like the B story to a Spider-Man main feature.
Yep.
And then you could build them as these characters, because they were starting this, and it's like Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't like, because it made money. It just didn't make the crazy money they wanted it to.
Right.
They were like, well, I don't know, maybe we, because like that was also when like I think Winter Soldier, I think, came out the same
Sounds
year
about
as,
right.
if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken,
Sounds about
2013.
right.
2013, like Winter, like
Dang.
it was around the
Yeah.
same time where
Yes.
some of these
Yes.
Marvel
That's
movies
right.
were making
Yes.
like massive money, and they're like,
Yes.
oh well, like if it's not going to make 600 million, we can't do another one. But it's
Right.
like, right, it was never going to make 600 million. Like that wasn't the point. The
Yeah.
point was like this: you build these movies, and that's to like. All right, I'm talking a lot, and I apologize. Feel free to cut me on off. This is your show, man.
I always love hearing you
We still
talk.
could.
Like I said, that's my favorite thing is coming across my TikTok feed and seeing you just sharing, like unloading on somebody. So I always enjoy hearing you speak. But um, I think the box office thing is interesting, like you said, about not making as much as they want. Because now, fast forward to Superman this year, which by all intents and purposes, you can say was a win. Like the fans enjoyed it. They're making more, but you look at the box office, and then I see a lot of. I have one friend who sends me every single Snyder headline, like Man of Steel was better. Man of Steel made this much money. Man of Steel, and I'm like, hey, I like this new one. Okay, like why do you keep sending me the Man of Steel stuff? And you compare the box office of Man of Steel to Superman, and it's not going to make $1 billion, but I think it's a success in every category that you can think of.
Here's what I think the problem with this Superman movie financially is. Um, it's Man of Steel came in on it was essentially a new universe, and it was
Yes.
the first new Superman movie in 30 years. There's just no way around that. It was the first new Superman movie in 30 years, because Superman Returns wasn't a new movie. It was Superman 2.5.
Right.
So like it was the first Superman movie in 30, first new Superman movie, first new take on Superman in
Right.
30 years, not
Mhm.
counting Smallville, of course.
Oh, yeah. Right,
Um,
right, right.
but like it very much did something different, and it
Mhm.
caught a particular audience. And I think that audience are what is, I think, let's say lovingly referred to as power scalers.
Mm.
People who want to see super powerful characters do super powerful things,
Yes.
right? People who watched Man of Steel and and were much more engrossed in the power displays of Superman than his kindness and his
Mm.
helpfulness. And like it's like the it's I had to excuse to myself why the end of Man of Steel worked, because I was like, you know what, it's a different era. Because literally in that last moment, he's got him in the chokehold, and I'm like, in my head, in the theater, I'm like, what's the Superman way out of this? Because that to me is like, that's the essence of Superman, is he finds a way out that doesn't cost life. That's always been Superman to me. Superman is a he preserves life. That's just who he is. That's his
Yes.
fundamental nature. So that moment, and he snaps the neck, I literally screamed, like aloud, and I was like frozen. And then like as I'm coming out, I'm like, it's a different era. Like, you know, the audience is different. Like it just, they wouldn't have accepted, you know, like a more positive outlook, ending. And and it's funny because then my cousin will attest to this. I had to essentially convince him that that was the acceptable finale,
Mm.
because he was like, I don't know how I feel about that ending. I'm like, here's why it works. Here's why it had to go that way. And now, essentially, now that I've like hack between this movie and My Adventures with Superman,
Oh, yes, yes.
between this, like my opinion of Superman has been raised again.
Mm.
Of like, this dude is a helpful person. This dude wants to
Yeah.
save people, wants to protect people. So it, and I don't know what it was. It might have been like an era of like your final crises, your infinite crises, your identity crisis. Like there was a lot of darkness in the like late aughts, early 2010s in the
Right.
DC comics.
Mhm.
So maybe it made sense to me at that time. And then also
Right.
when they did like uh the New 52, like he was a little more edgy, like he had more like armor like suit and
Yes.
all this stuff. And I was like, okay, like I see kind of the shift. Maybe that's where the fans, like the diehard fans, want to go. And and now that I've seen sort of the good, what I would call the good Superman again, I look back on that and I'm like, man, I really had to justify that. And I look back on these moments and I'm like, besides the like, oh, he saved a planet, right? Which, like, okay, sort of bare minimum requirement of Superman. Like, sort of the bar is on the ground. But like, I there's a like when he comes to save his mother from Zod, he punches Zod through two grain silos from his neighbors, right? So he ruins the livelihood of two of his neighbors and then drives him into downtown Smallville, where he plows through a gas station into a gas station stand, and it explodes. I'm like, how many people died in that one maneuver
And it
for the
didn't seem
sake of,
like
and it like, and I don't know if it was just like, oh, you're about to hurt my mom, so I'm like, I'm losing it. Like, I've looked on it so many times and I'm like, I don't get the drive here. Because at no point during that following fight is he like, oh, I gotta save people. I
right.
gotta get you away from here. No, we're tussling it up in downtown Smallville. I'm like, he doesn't care about this town.
Yeah. And that
And
was
that was one of those moments where I was like, I don't think he had Alana and I don't think he had a Pete.
Yeah, that would
I
make
don't think he
sense.
had these people who helped him be a good dude.
Right.
Like, because
Yep.
even at the beginning, when they do the early stuff, when he's so when he saves the bus, he seems like a loner.
Hmm.
Like, I
Kind
don't
of
remember him being like buddy buddy with anybody in those moments.
right. I'm thinking of like Absolute Superman, the take that we're getting right now in Absolute Superman, where now in that version he grew up on Krypton more than he did on Earth,
Mm,
and
okay,
like his upbringing is different, which is
sure.
also just an interesting concept because you think about how many years we've seen Superman, and he's always been the he he never knew Krypton. Like he was a baby when it exploded, and his whole upbringing has been on Earth. You take that and you flip it and do the absolute version, and it's like, oh, he was a teenager, so he grew up on Krypton, and he really is an alien coming to Earth, and like the culture shock and things like that, and not
So
having
it's
a
just what if Superman was Supergirl?
yeah, that's it,
No, but like,
yeah,
and I think it's funny because it's like people talk about they don't know how they feel about what happened, like the revelations about Krypton, and even Supergirl at the end of the new Superman movie. And I was like, but it makes sense, because if that culture are kind of like domineering assholes, right? Because if we think about it, when they sent him, that would have been 20 years earlier, and per Neil deGrasse Tyson, uh, uh, that would have been prior to the modern day. Like, they would not have been looking at modern day humanity. They would have been looking
right.
at like barbaric era humanity. So
That's
that's a take, right?
yeah, that's plausible.
And it's like, hey, they don't know what they're doing. They're just like smashing rocks against each other, like,
Hmm.
handle business. Um, but also, even if they did see somehow the modern day Earth, uh, and they are just douchebags, that
Hmm.
sort of explains Kara, right? Oh,
Yeah.
she runs off to get drunk and not deal with her responsibilities. Maybe because she doesn't want to tell her cousin that their people are assholes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
maybe she distances herself from him so that when he's like, "Oh, tell me about Krypton," like, tell me some stuff, she doesn't have to fucking lie.
Hmm.
That's just
100%.
a thought. That's just like a line of thinking that I had. So I'm
Yeah,
like, it makes sense then, because it's like, all right, well then that's why she's going off and getting drunk,
yeah,
because
I
she
could
is
see
meant to
that.
be a teenager as far as
Right.
I'm aware. But
Yeah. I just
we don't know enough yet of the new
right,
universe.
right. I just I don't get the take of, and I've talked to people that didn't like Superman, kind of like your guess that you had, where they were like, I mean, some of the weirdest reasons Superman. This was one of the reasons Superman lost every fight, or he needed help with every fight. He never won a fight on his own. And I'm like, what does that have to do with the narrative or the like? What does that have to do with anything? Who cares if he needed help? Like everyone
Because
needs help.
a lot of people, like I said, they're power
It's
scalers,
that
and
power scaling.
they
Hmm.
have Superman in this like high tier of like, he could just take anybody. And if he weren't Superman, yeah, of course he could. We've proven this with about 35 different versions of what if Superman was a bad guy.
Yes.
And it's such a tired trend that I am the sickest of it,
Mm,
honestly.
yeah.
Like, we have the Homelanders, we have what they do, was it Brightburn or whatever?
Yeah.
That was
Hmm.
like, what if Superman was evil?
Yep.
Even DC has had their own Ultraman for however many decades, and every once in a while they bring him out. They're like, see, if Superman was a bad guy, he'd be a real problem.
Right.
Like,
Even the
and it's like,
Injustice
we know,
Superman. Hmm.
yeah, and exactly, Injustice Superman. It's like, essentially,
Yep.
what if Superman had a really bad day?
Yes.
And I think, honestly, I think Injustice was the reason um we got Ray, not Ray, but like what's his, I always forget his, like, Kingdom Come Superman in
Mm,
Crisis
mm,
on
hmm.
CW. I
Yes.
think
Right.
that's
Right. Right.
literally the
Brandon
only
Routh. Yeah.
reason, because it was like, that was the same story.
Right.
That was Joker took out everybody he loved, and he still maintained being a good guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's Superman.
Yes. a
Like,
100%. Right. And how much, I wonder, kind of talking about your experience with Man of Steel to this Superman, James Gunn had an interesting quote that he said where he couldn't figure out how to get into the character and how to, like, how he couldn't crack the story. And then some things happened in his life, and then the what we got of kindness, but in an unkind world. Like, Superman is still Superman, but the world has
Yeah.
changed around him, and it's punk rock to be kind. Do you
Yep.
think your own, like, personal, maybe you had a similar thing like James Gunn, where it was like, oh, I'm coming back to that version of Superman that I knew growing up?
I think personally for me, it was more so maturing, more
Yeah.
so being able to look at things more from a more critical lens.
Mm.
Because I would say, because that was what, 2011, so
For
14 years ago. And
right.
my wife can attest to this because we've been together for 14 years. My wife, Eddie, honestly, we could just put this all on her. It's my wife's fault that I'm better now. Like, when we started going out, I've told this story many times, and uh, I was someone who was very much like desperate to have someone. Like, I
Mm.
didn't want to be alone, right? And I felt like multiple relationships had failed for various reasons, and I was just like, if something does, like, I have to maintain something. And really early on, I want to say like first or second week when we were going out, um maybe not even like officially like together yet, like I think just maybe just talking, like had a date or two. And we were, remember Trillion? Does anyone remember Trillion,
Dang, that
the
sounds
messaging
familiar.
platform?
Yeah, that sounds
Like
familiar.
you
Dang.
could put like MSN and AIM and all of it
Yes,
into the
that's
one
right.
thing, right?
Yes. Right,
So
right,
like
right.
that's how we chatted. And one day I'm like, messaging her, and like she's not replying basically all day. And at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh my God, like I must have said something to piss her off. So I'm like profusely apologizing at the end of this day. And it's like nothing happened. There was no like argument. There's nothing happened. But I was just so like terrified because I I always say like I lucked out. I got the best of both worlds for my wife. Like she's American, but she like studied in Bosnia and Croatia and Serbia. Like she like spent time over there, knows the culture, knows the language, knows the
Mm.
culture in some fashion better than I do because she
Oh,
studied it from a
wow.
book, so like understands all of it. Me,
Yeah.
I just got to experience this, so I'm just like, yeah, like that's stuff people do, but I'm like, I don't know why. Like, you know, people just do. That's stuff people do. Like whatever. So like, I really like. I was like, I struck gold, and I'm like, I can't screw this up. And so at the end of this day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like if I said something to upset you or whatever. And she finally gets online and she's like, dude, I was at work. Um, but if this is gonna be the tone, I don't have time for this. And literally, again, I was at my friend's house, and he was like, dude, I was like, yeah, I know. Like, and I'm driving home, and I like training date myself. I'm like rear view mirror. I'm like, are you gonna get your shit together, or are you gonna let her go? Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get your shit together, or are you gonna let her go? You know what I'm saying? Like, just in the rear view, and I got my shit together. So like,
Dang.
I think that's a big element of it. I think honestly, I just matured. I
Mm.
moved out of a mentality of like sort of like what, like accepting whatever comes, and
Yeah.
just like
Okay.
working to be better. And I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, I could have accepted then, but like historically, this is recorded on multiple platforms. Right after Man of Steel, when they started talking about Batman v Superman, everything I said, I was like, I don't, I don't like where this is going, and I didn't. And the only good thing that came out of that movie was Batfleck, because that is my favorite
Mm.
cinematic Batman, because he's a superhero Batman, and that's what I want to see. Like we've
Yeah.
seen so much detective Batman,
Mhm.
got a whole trilogy of like grounded, realistic quote unquote Batman, but like a superhero Batman that could like not really throw down with Doomsday, but like could help, like
Yeah.
could help in the
Mhm.
fight.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was missing from Batman. But it just, unfortunately, it was set in this universe that just was plagued with other problems, and like
Yeah.
this like Superman is this all powerful being, and it really honestly feels like because I remember reading in like Wizard, even back in the day, like when Morrison took over and the JLA book relaunched, I want to say like 93 or 94. And it, like really kind of, but it's not, by the time I started reading Wizard, it was like, let's say a dozen issues in.
Hmm.
And one of the like ongoing narratives, every time they would interview Morrison or anyone to do with the book, it would be like, oh, like the Justice League are DC's like pantheon of gods. And they would compare them to like the Greek deities, like Superman is Zeus, Wonder Woman is, Hera or Aphrodite, not Aphrodite, Artemis. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they would
Okay.
literally pair
Yeah.
them up. Batman is
Mhm.
Hades, like
Right.
it's like they're a pantheon instead of being superheroes, they're gods in this universe. Like they are, in all effects, quite all powerful. Like, I mean, have you heard of the Infinite Mass Punch?
Yes. Yes.
The
Wally West.
Infinite Mass Punch, no, Superman.
Oh, I thought Wally West did it.
Superman flew through, I want to say the galaxy, like did a couple loops, came
Oh.
back and just plowed a dude in the jaw, and it said Infinite Mass Punch. And I was like, oh, okay. And then like more, even a more recent era when right after, by the way, the most Lex thing to do is to make everybody forcibly make everyone forget Superman's identity, and then anyone who is told the information or gets the information dies of an aneurysm. That's a hater ass thing to do. That was such, it was like, oh my God. But then like that moment of like when Superman comes back from, his trip abroad, if you will, he comes back and he's like, yeah, time and space don't really mean anything to me anymore. He's just like, I just go where I want to be. Like the that's like anime stuff. That's just
Yes.
straight up anime stuff. Like it's
Mhm.
because it was like a few issues later, he also got the like spirit form or whatever the hell
Yes.
that
Right.
was,
Right.
where it's like you just like, I'm like,
Right.
what is happening? This is
Yeah.
like golden age shenanigans. Like I'm
Right.
for it. I'm here for all of it. Like to
Yes.
me, I'm like, these are ridiculous stories. These are ridiculous characters. Do ridiculous things with them. But
Yes.
at the core of all of these modern stories, where he has effectively more power than he's ever had in the comics before or any media, he's still Superman. He still wants to protect people. He still wants to save people. He had an opportunity in that moment. And I mean, you saw it. He just touched Lex's armor and it fell apart.
Yes, that's right.
You
Yeah.
could say he just quickly disassembled it, or to my preference, I think this is where Khan's tactile telekinesis comes
Yeah.
from.
Mhm.
Superman
Mhm.
actually has it.
Yes.
Touched it, just disassembled it with his mind. And it's like that moment where Lex is like, don't hurt me. And he's like, I would never do that. And that's the thing you still don't understand. And I think
Yes.
like that moment and the end of the Superman movie, to me, is the same moment. It's like, I'm just a dude trying to be the best dude I can be. And I think that, but between that, and I think this summer has very much been to go back to our initial thesis of the summer of superheroes. This summer has also been a summer of sort of understanding how to deal with problems, right? In Ironheart, you were shown how to like, not how to necessarily, but maybe how not to deal with grief, and like the resources that might be available to those dealing with grief. And in Thunderbolts, you were shown really the power of friendship and like
Yes.
coming together for a common goal. The end of
Right.
Thunderbolts wasn't about beating a bad guy, it was coming together to save a friend from himself. Like it was an intervention.
Right.
That's the end of Thunderbolts was. And then Superman was about standing up for what's right, regardless of how bad it makes you look, and regardless of how bad people treat you when you do it. And then also, as a bonus, because it's Superman, you got to get more than one lesson, asking for help. Just
Yes.
asking for help. Because Bob didn't ask for help in Thunderbolts,
Right.
but they were like, we're here for you, even when you don't have the impulse or the capacity to ask for that help.
Mhm.
And Superman was like, I want to do everything I can, and to accomplish the most good, I'm gonna enlist friends. And it's a summer of learning how to deal with your emotions through
Yes.
superheroes.
And that's I feel like, mental health is very important, and superheroes have always been the lens of the power fantasy, the things that we can't do, um, holding the gods up to our level, and then viewing the problems that we have on their level. So I think this summer has been very interesting, and the similarities between Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps also, like, at no time in my comic history have I seen two movies come out, number one, in the same month, and then also have they both almost are trying, they're different, but they're the same, because Superman is starting a new universe with this DCU, and Fantastic Four is almost like trying to get the MCU back on, it's almost supposed to be the stepping stone, the first steps to, let's get back to what the MCU used to be. And okay.
No, no, I have a thought on that. I
Okay.
don't. I think we've all of us. I'll put myself in the same mix. I think we've all put the multiverse saga on too high a pedestal. I think it was the first time we got near comic book accurate, because I'm not going to say they were all comic book accurate. Lots of liberties were taken, lots of adjustments were made to fit the medium, which is acceptable and understandable. Um, but it was the first time we got a near comic book accurate storyline and sprawling world on screen, and it's something that we didn't we had never had, like you said, we had never had it before. Certainly not on that scope.
Mhm.
Uh, but and it really like it climaxed in this like the most comic book thing ever, where it was
Right.
just like tons of characters, huge fights, you know, multiversal like consequences. You know, like
Mhm.
the consequences at the end of Endgame were at the top. Like it
Right.
was the end of all things. It's hard to go from that to be like,
Right.
all right, now we got to build up a whole new storyline.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, and because of this lack of interconnected tissue, and I think if they had just played, if if Ike Perlmutter wasn't a piece of garbage and he wasn't a thing, uh, we would have gotten more Agents of Shield. If I had my way,
Mm.
we would have gotten Agents of Shield every year until I die. Um, and maybe even after. But like it had this potential to be the connective tissue and to build those interconnected pieces and develop the narrative of the greater world. But because of the infighting, it went its own way, and the rest of the MCU moved on without it. And but like having a show like that, um, even if they had like a low budget streaming show or whatever, just like where you get like a dozen episodes every 6 months or every year that are, again, low budget, not super high graphics. Like WandaVision was conceptually a beautiful fucking piece of work. Like it was everything that they, but it took so much visual effects to get all of that done, right? She-Hulk, same thing. Like it had such potential, but it was like time restrictions, the terrible way they treat their CG artists, like everything about that may like lower the quality bar on that show. And it's like if you take these concepts and bring us something like if they had done an actual damage control
Oh
show,
man.
you still could. You still very much could do a damage control show where it's literally the first season, the first half of the first season of Agents of Shield, where they're like, they got to come in after the movie happened and like do the thing and fix
Yeah.
the
Right.
stuff. And
Right.
then it's like we have all these little bits and pieces, and then you could, let's say, in a Thunderbolt, like post a New Avengers fight, at the end of that movie, damage control's got to come in. They're like, what, like all this stuff. We got to fix this tower now. You guys are moving in when? I don't know if we could do it. Like, we got time, but it's just like having these moments to develop some of these characters because, like I said, one of the failings in these movies is that you don't have a ton of time to develop the characters. We love Yelena, and that was Yelena's movie because we've gotten the most of Yelena out of everyone in that movie. Right. That's the only reason like, obviously she did a great job. I'm not going to take that away from her. She's a fantastic actress. But like, we also got that character in 3 other appearances, like at length in detail. So like, we got to see her character develop. And that's also why we don't care that Taskmaster dies. Like, we barely found out she was a person by the end of Black Widow to even care about her.
Right.
So in the same way like Ghost, we got Ghost, call it half a movie in Ant-Man 2. So it's like it really, all of this matters to develop these characters so that we actually care about them. I think one of the biggest failings of the Thunderbolts was Bucky. Like, we've gotten a ton of Bucky, but every instance, it's like if you play World of Warcraft, you get, or even video games, these are instances of Bucky. This isn't a continuous narrative. Right. It just isn't, like, because you get like Winter Soldier Bucky, and then literally out of that you get Civil War, and then through no narrative device he's just in Wakanda. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, and now he's in New York, post Endgame. He's just in New York with Sam. I'm like, can we like have a moment where his actions are pardoned? Because he was like the world's longest running assassin. Right. Just like a scene where like, all right, you're all charges are dropped or whatever. Like, we're sealing your records, something. But like the show don't tell idea, right? They said something on Falcon and Winter Soldier about it, but it was just like an in passing, like, yeah, since they dropped your charges, and then like nothing else was spoken of it. And I was like, no, I would like to see at least how that conversation went.
Yes. 100%.
And the same way where it was like, I think in that show he said something about him maybe going into politics. It was just like an in passing, like, you should go into politics. And then in Brave New World, he's a senator.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? Could we at least have gotten some like YouTube videos about his campaign? Just something to build the narrative to then at the end, at least that was like our one through line into Thunderbolts. Like, we knew he was a senator already, but like he immediately drops that to be a fighter again. Yeah. And I'm like, guys, this isn't how you write a good character arc. Right. Like, he's a great character. He's cool to see on screen. He does like great fight scenes and everything. But like, I really think in Thunderbolts, he was sort of the weakest of the bunch because he didn't really have a strong through line as to how he got there.
I would agree with
everyone else was like, hey, these people were sort of villains, and then like a probably villain hired them to do villain things. I'm like, this all makes sense. Like, I'm not lost at all. Like, yeah. And like, we even got a ton of Val throughout like various appearances that like we understood who Val was and her motivation. So like, why she was doing all this stuff, I'm like, yeah, she's there for power and she's trying to control these people. Like, all makes perfect sense to me. But like, his honestly was the weakest run. And that's the thing, is like, it goes back to we need to use this tapestry of this universe that you've created to tell these stories. Right. It doesn't have to be anything high. It really shouldn't be anything high budget. And that was the other thing I was going to bring up with the box office. Superman should not have had a $225 million budget. And I'll tell you how he could have shaved off 10 mil. I think 14, but let's say 10 mil. James Gunn got $15 million for that movie. Now, I understand that he's the architect and he's the writer and he's the director. I get it. Get paid for your money. But like, if you believe in this project, and I think he does, like, cut the budget down, give yourself a reasonable rate for the year of work or whatever, 2 years of work, and then get a percentage. Because now, if he had done that, if we had been under 200, let's say, we'd already be in profit, and now he'd be talking about points.
Yeah.
Now we'd be talking about percentages. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
and I think that's another part of the reason people who are, let's say, informed on these movies and stuff, um, they know about these budgets and they're like, like it's not going to make the budget. So like, why even go? Like it'll come to streaming and I'll watch it on streaming. It's not that big a deal. But it's like, it needs to make its money. That's why
Right.
I went. It was great. So I went 3 times.
Yay.
Like, and every single time it was better and more entertaining. And like, but at the end of the day, everyone needs to go see it. And I think we're getting more, and that's where you said it's they're doing the same thing but different. I think they're actually both doing the same thing. I think Fantastic
Mm.
Four is doing something that in the MCU we really haven't gotten at the scale that we have, and that's true comic book accuracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Galactus walking through New York at that scale,
Yes.
you just wouldn't have gotten that in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Right.
You just
They're
wouldn't have.
not afraid to be comic book movies, and they're not afraid to be even the Silver Age comic book, like the goofy sci-fi, like you said, the big purple guy in the space. He's not a cloud. Like there's no grounding of we have to make this realistic and we have to make it like
Yeah.
not silly. And so it's a comic book. It's supposed to be like it's fun. Like there's no reason why you can't do it
The
that way.
same I had the same response to both movies as I came out, and I said that it treats you like you could get it. You don't even necessarily have to get it. Does everyone who watched Superman understand what an anti-proton river is? No. I dabble in physics and I barely understand it. And it may not even be a physics thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I maybe know this much, but like it treats you like you could understand it. It treats you like you have the capacity for it. And it says a thing, and it says, we're establishing this as a thing. Pocket universes. Okay. And then we move on.
Yes.
And it's not like, here's how we did it, and here's how it makes sense, and here's how it could happen in the real world. We don't need all that. We don't need to be essentially talked down to for this like super science stuff. It's super science. We get it. It's crazy stuff. It's not stuff we have now. Just say it. And like, you know, Star Trek's been around for 80 years or whatever, and they just say warp factor 9. I was say 12, but it's not. It's never 12. It was like 12 a couple times in the first series. The first year of Star Trek is glorious to watch in retrospect. But like, they just say things and they just commit to it. And I think even looking at like the first season of the original series and going into season 2, when they sort of like had established some things, episode to episode, they would say things that would contradict the previous episode. And they would say it with such command that you're just like, okay, now it's that. Because it wasn't Starfleet. It wasn't Starfleet for like half a season. It was like Star Command or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was just like Starfleet. And we're like, okay, now it's Starfleet. And we never talked about it again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it assumes that you will accept this because this is the narrative that's being told. And that's the same thing with like Fantastic Four. It's like this giant purple guy. And it's like, oh, I want your child. And no one was like, well, it doesn't make sense. He's so big. Like, how could the child feed him? And he's like, the child has ridiculous powers. And it's like Galactus, like a force of the universe, says your child is hiding his nature from you. And we all just said, all right.
Yeah.
Not like a baby can't do that. We were just like, all right, cool. He's hiding his nature. We get it. Like we didn't need an in-depth explanation. We didn't need to like read to like zoom in and like, oh, that's how he's doing it. Like,
yeah.
Even Reed was like, all right, you're gonna tell me when you're ready.
Yes. Even the origin is like, okay, they went into space, cosmic rays. It's not well, they had to go, you know, the Miles Teller Fantastic Four, like they had to go teleport to a different dimension or whatever it was, and then they came back.
And even that, like that one was so, oh my God, I hate that movie so much. And it's funny because like it's one of the few times in cinema where you can see there's a literal fade to black, and it's like you might have, instead of 1 year later, you could have said this is where the studio stepped in.
Ooh,
like it's like the difference in narrative is so drastic where you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like her wig was completely like just wrong. Not like it's longer because it's a year later. It's wrong. Like it's the wrong, like the colors off, and like it's because they had reshot a ton of it after they had
Mm.
filmed it. It's like like the that, oh my god, that movie. That is one of the that movie puts so many narrative concepts out and then just says never mind.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh okay, like she's adopted. I'm like, that could be interesting.
Yep.
And then they have this moment where she's like, oh yeah, I'm from Kosovo. I was like, that's from my region of space, you know, tell me more.
Yeah.
And then he made like an accent joke, and then nothing was ever spoken again of it. And I was like, why did we even say that?
Right.
Why
Right.
she could have just been adopted from New York City.
Right.
There's adoption agencies in New York City. She doesn't have to be a child of war and
Yeah.
then do nothing with that story. Like, it just made no
Right.
sense. It just,
Yeah.
so much of that movie made no sense. Like, oh, yeah, we're gonna have essentially an omni-powerful Doom, and then we're gonna finish him by punching him in the mouth.
Yes. Yeah.
Pardon?
It's just, I am glad with Superman and with Fantastic Four. It gives me hope that if people take the right lessons from these movies and not the things I've been seeing online are like, because it didn't make they didn't make $1 billion. Somebody was like, the Fantastic Four was a flop, and I'm like, what, a flop? Like, it didn't make $10 million. What are you talking about? And but I'm hopeful that they don't take the wrong messages away and be like, oh, we need to be the opposite of these movies, with heart, with hope, with family, with all these things that we haven't been seeing recently in movies. I'm hoping this 1-2 punch of Superman and Fantastic Four, the studios are like, oh, this is what we need more of, especially in this day and age, this era that we're in right now. These types of movies are what I like. I like focusing on the characters, the story, the narrative, and then make a good time. Like you were saying, it's just fun to come out of the theater and be like, I had a good time. The last 2 hours,
Yeah.
of my time was well spent. I'm hoping we get more of this type of stuff.
Yeah, like it's
Man.
the Superman, that my favorite bit in Superman, because it got funnier every time. And it's the dumbest joke, but it's the garage door thing.
Yes, yes.
Like, it couldn't be dumber. It is just the dumbest joke. But the first time I was like, huh. And the second time I was like, and the third time I was like, before it even started, I'm just like,
yes, yes.
like I was already geeking.
Yes.
I'm like, this is such a stupid joke, but it works
Yes.
so well because it's like, this dude has a spaceship, but it's like the garage door slow. Like, it's just
Yes.
how absurd it is, just is like reiterated every time you see it. And it's I don't know, man. They're just good movies. They're fun movies.
That was a great joke. It's funny because I was watching it recently with my friend who had never seen it, and I was like you. I was laughing before it even started, and his focus was on the spaceship. He was like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "The joke is the door." He's, "Oh yeah, I get that, but what's the spaceship?" I'm like, "You're focusing on the wrong part." But yeah, that was. I almost feel like the James Gunn-ness of Guardians and previous stuff was like toned down for Superman, and the humor and the jokes and a lot of the stuff I could have even used more James Gunn, like more of his personality. Um, I get, like, if he's trying to, okay, Superman is the one that appeals to all audiences. Obviously, I'm not like, I don't want it to be R-rated, but just his comic sensibilities. I would love more of those type of jokes. The garage door joke, more of that I would have liked. But I still had a great time watching it again.
And I
right
think
before
I think
this.
we'll get that as it goes, because like I think some of the best
Ooh,
gags
yes,
in
yes.
Guardians are running gags, right?
Yes, yes.
If you haven't seen the Christmas one,
Yes.
the gifting Bucky's arm,
Yes.
that's like a gag.
Right.
That's like that went back a project and a half
Yes.
to like for that gag, and it's like, it's funny, like, and then but it also carries a through line from the first Guardians movie, right?
Yes.
So it's like,
yes.
it's this really well executed, and it's like, that's the best kind of comedy. That's actually, I've said this before, but like that's why I fell in love with the Hamilton play,
okay.
because it self-references.
Yes.
Like, as you get further on, they'll do the like, I'm not gonna waste my shot, and I'm like, oh yeah, he said that earlier. Like, it like all kind of plays back on itself, and I'm like, this is written in the cadence of a good stand-up. Because good stand-up, I think, like works back on itself. Like one of
Hmm.
my most recent favorite stand-ups, Burt Kreischer, I think it was called Razzle Dazzle, was the most recent one. The way it ended, I was crying, like bawling, crying, and laughing at the same time.
Oh
And just
man.
like two extremely like harsh emotions, like at the same time. I was just losing it. But I'm like, it was funny as hell, but it was like so emotional. But it played back to basically all the way to the first joke. And I'm like, that's narrative, that's
Yes.
storytelling.
I
And
always love that.
I think that's a lot of what these movies had working for them. You know, we could have not cared about the Element Man. I always want to call him Metamorpho because I like that name better, but
Yep.
they called
Yep.
him Element Man in the movie. But
Yes.
like
Hmm.
we could have not cared about him. It could have been much less. It could have also been like way overdone. But I think that the 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 range at which we got, like, we cared that he got his kid back. We cared that, like, I would argue maybe that might be the best character arc in the movie,
Hmm.
is the Element Man,
Yeah.
because he shows up as sort of like, in the first moments you see him, he's like a puppet of Lex, right?
Yes.
But
Hmm.
then immediately you find out, oh, he's actually under the gun.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then Superman's like trying to appeal to him, and he's like, shut up, no. Like, he's like got his mind set.
Hmm.
And then when he sees like the lengths to which Lex will go, he's like, just killed that guy. Like,
Yeah.
holy crap. And he's like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I do what he wants. He might still kill my kid.
Yes.
And then just like, and you even get that joke within that, which I think is, goes to James Gunn's comedic timing of like, he's like, I can't make a son. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like, he's like, obviously I'm not going to ask you to make a son, but that's a ridiculous request. He's like, but I can make something like a son. And I'm like, the fuck? And even Superman was like, what? Like, excuse me? What do you mean?
Yes. Yes.
Like,
Man.
and it's a great moment, but it's like, again, it's the reason it hits when he shows up in that final fight is that he went through a little arc with Superman. He saw that Superman's willing to do what it takes to be the best dude he can, and he's like, yeah, I've got my kid. I'm with my lady, but like, I gotta go help out. Like, it's,
Mm.
I gotta be
Yeah.
the best me I can be here in this
Yes.
moment, and I think that's like learning the lesson that the movie is teaching you within the narrative.
Yes. And that is what Superman is, inspiring people, giving them hope instead of saying it like Man of Steel. Oh, the S means hope. That's my, my planet. I'm like, there's nothing in Man of Steel that gives me hope. Like nothing that he does says, okay, he is going to inspire the Justice League. He's going to
Agreed.
inspire the heroes of this earth. So that was another thing that I thought James Gunn just did masterfully was showing that Superman was able to give people hope that they could be better. They could, it's like the falafel guy, like the whoever it was, they wanted to be better because of
Yeah,
Superman. So I like that a lot. Man,
yeah.
Dalibor, you are an amazing guest. I always love it when you come on and talk because it doesn't matter the topic. You always have interesting things to say. Thank you very much for joining me, my friend. Do you have anything to plug at the moment? What's going on with the Indie Hype Man right now?
The Indie Hype Man right now has a big stack of books that he brought
Ooh,
home from a very large weekend. Did a couple shows, did some shopping. Went to a new comic shop, which
nice.
also turns out has like an industry night. So now I have a new hangout spot as well.
Ooh,
Local Chicago talents going there. It's called All Yeah Comics in Skokie, Illinois. So Monday nights, that is the hangout spot. Apparently, some
nice.
local artists come through, draw. Doesn't matter like what scale you're at, what level you're at drawing. It's just a hangout night to kind of schmooze and just chill with local artists and local creators. And it was the first shop, and I think I've talked about this before, but I'm working on a checklist for comic book shops, and eventually I'm going to do like a whole tour of the Chicagoland area, and eventually further, um, where I go through and I hit a checklist of factual questions, yes or no kind of stuff. I'm trying to eliminate my opinion out of it as much as possible, but I want to find the most indie friendly comic shops and the most
Oh,
indie favorable
nice.
comic shops.
Hmm.
And right now, I think I've only got about 4 or 5 questions so far on my questionnaire. I want it to be about 10, as I feel like that's like a good number.
Yeah.
Um, but so far, I tell you, this shop hits every single question that I've got and more. As soon as you walk in, huge section of like indie trades and stuff like that. The actual local press and small press stuff is right up by the window, right by the register, all like very nicely spotlighted. And like I said, he's got the industry night for local creatives. So like immediately across the board, 10 out of 10. I don't even have all 10 yet,
Nice.
but he's got 10 out of 10. So like,
Nice.
yeah, it's a great spot. But yeah, I'm working on that list. So that's one of the things I'm working on. Working on the next issue of Catalyst. If you don't already subscribe, check out thecatalyst.digital. That is my indie creator magazine, indie hype magazine. I interview people and present works from comic book creators, from poetry writers, from authors. In one of the recent issues, I spoke to someone. I spoke to a director and showrunner of an indie produced fantasy series called Queendom Come. It was on YouTube. I don't believe it's on YouTube anymore because now it's on Tubi because they got a deal and they got it on Tubi. So if you have Tubi, or Tubi's free, so just check out Queendom Come. It is a black led, black cast, black production, and it's a super dope storyline of inherited power and
Hmm.
and coming into sort of like finding out who your friends are, who your enemies are, and sort of where it all goes. And yeah, it's a great story, but like having those moments of like being able to talk to someone during their process or as they start, and then having something come out months, years later, where I was like, hey, I remember talking to that person. I remember having that interview and being sort of on the ground level before people
Hmm.
hit the big time. Um, it's honestly, it's part of some of the best stuff. Like actually, I'll show you this too. This just
Yeah.
came in the mail. This just came in the mail. This is from my buddy Zach Young.
Ooh.
I always call him Young Zachary because that's how I have him in my phone. But and it's funny because like the way it came up in my phone, I was like, oh no, like it's I'm like every time I see it, I say it like you're a rapper. And he's like, it's funny because I actually used to rap. And I was like, that's even better. Like, but yeah, so he did a bike tour of America. He went cross
Ooh.
coast to coast on a bike, and this is like a journal collection of journals and photos and everything from his journey. I bought like a stack of them, so I've got like 4 that I'm gonna be distributing. That's one of the other things I'm getting into. This is a little exclusive for you. I haven't really talked about this, but I'm in Kickstarter campaigns. I'm going to be doing more. I'm going to be leaning more towards like the retailer tiers and bringing indie comics and products to local shops, that especially stuff that's not from around here. You know, like a lot of like Danny J. Quick. He's going to be, I think, at the end of this month or early next month. He's going to be sending me a big Ace Blade bundle that I'm going to be dropping off at Blurred's Underground in Lagrange. That's like that conversation's already had. I've already sold a
Hmm.
run, like
Oh,
one
nice.
of the employees there. So he's like super excited for it. So it's sort of helping the shops out because they don't have to take that initial investment of not knowing, if it's going to sell, and then also helping get books out and get people to see indie products. That's another shop
Nice.
that's very good for indie. First section you get into is indie there. Like I love those guys.
Nice, man. That is some fantastic stuff. Everybody check out Dalibor. I'm going to have all of his links in the show notes. And we thank him for joining us always here on This Comic Cooks. We thank you for listening. Don't forget, you can always drop your thoughts in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the MCU, on DCU, all of this stuff, the summer of superheroes, everything that's been happening in 2025? We are very interested to hear what you think. Share this episode with your fellow fans. And thank you very much, everybody. Have a good one.
See ya.